and welcome back to my channel. I am Mercedes and this is the Frugal Life with Mercedes. I have not done a sit-down video with you guys in quite some time. I have my ring light, which I'm still working on. I know it's not hard, but I'm not a technology girly. Anyway, I'm very excited to use it and I'm loving the remote, but just a disclaimer, this is only my second or third time using it, so sometimes I'm not pressing the button right, so I might have to get up and press it, so towards the end. Anyway, just so you guys know. Alright, so hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Mercedes. So today I thought that we would talk about the cost of fear. Now what that means is fear is costing you money. You are either buying things out of fear or you are limiting your opportunities of making money and bringing money and abundance into your life because of fear. Now, I am not a psychiatrist or a counselor or anything like that. There are many reasons why people are afraid. And it depends on the person's life experience, age, gender, race, financial background, education, where they live in the country or in the world. Just we are all different. And the way we react to things is different for everybody. You could have 10 people and present them with something and they will all react differently. Creeper on the street comes up to them, all 10 of those people are going to react different. You offer them a business opportunity, all 10 are going to act differently. You present them with some sort of crisis or anything, and they're all going to react different. And we have to keep that in mind, that everybody reacts different. But the whole point of this video is I do not want you guys to lead with fear, okay? We all do it. I know that I have stopped myself from certain opportunities because I was afraid. I've also gotten myself into some financial situations in the past out of fear, and it happens. And you want to learn and grow from those experiences and see how you can do it different next time. Now, I'm not going to get into this part of it too much. I'm going to do this in another video, but there are a lot of awesome opportunities, and some of them are legit and some of them are not. And you want to be careful, especially nowadays with these business opportunities, because you might be like, well, I don't want to mess with that because I'm afraid, or, well, yeah, let's do it. And you jump in and you should have a little bit of, I don't want to call it fear, but a little bit of hesitation. But I'm going to talk about that in another video. It's very complex. But for the sake of this video, I wanted to give you guys a real life example. Now, this is not, I did not do this, but I was kind of on the sidelines of the situation, very, very sidelines. So, back in the day, I want to say, I actually talked to my mother about this. I was asking her if she thought it would be a good video idea. So she's a little fuzzy on the details, and so am I, but that's just because it wasn't us, it was somebody else. So I did bounce this idea off of her and told her that I would change the names of the people. But I want to say in like 2002, maybe 2003, so I was like 12 or 13, my parents had some acquaintances, we'll call them acquaintances. And a couple of times a year, they would come over to our house or we would come over to their house. So we did know these people. They came to our house, we'd been to their house, we'd gone on day trips with them, you know, but I'm saying acquaintance so that I don't like specify exactly who they are. But there was a situation where they came, if I'm remembering correctly, now I guess it doesn't matter too much because you guys aren't going to be able to, you aren't going to know, but I want to try to get it as right as possible. My understanding of the situation and from my memory of over 20 years ago, and of my mother's memory of the situation 20 years ago, basically what happened was they came over. It is a husband and wife, and we are going to call them Mimi and Todd. Okay, so if I can remember that, if I call them something else later, bear with me. So Mimi and Todd came over for dinner or whatever, and Mimi starts talking about how you really gotta, you know, they're telling my parents, you really gotta buy vitamins, blah, 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 blah. They're like talking about vitamins. Basically what had come out was that they read online somewhere. Now, mind you, I wasn't a big social media person back then, so I'm sure MySpace was a thing, but I don't believe Facebook was. If they were, it definitely wasn't like what it is. I never had a MySpace, and I didn't have a Facebook until I was like 20 years old or something. So I was way behind the curve. But anyway, so my mom is not really sure where they got this information, but it was probably from some sort of website. Basically was saying that in the next 6 months that vitamins, you were not going to be able to buy vitamins at Walmart or a pharmacy, like a Walgreens, Rite Aid, whatever, any place. And you got to remember, people were buying stuff online back then, but not to the extent that they are now, okay? Not even by a long shot in 2002, okay? So, and you guys, don't come after me. I know people were buying stuff on eBay and all that kind of stuff, but just think about in 2002, who, basically now everybody buys stuff online. 2002, you know, not everybody was, and the amount of things available was very small. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Anyway, so they basically read on some, I'm going to say random website because I don't know where they got that information. It was not a news article. So that you could not buy vitamins. And then in the next 6 months, nobody was going to be able to buy vitamins. And the only way that you could get vitamins would be by getting a prescription from your doctor. And so they spent like, I have no idea, but I'm guessing like $1,000 on vitamins. And we're not talking like high dollar, like I know vitamins can be very expensive, but you're also talking about over 20 years ago. And they basically like went to their local Walmart and cleared like shelves of vitamins. So I would guess it was probably $1,000 in 20 years ago money. So you gotta think about 20 years ago prices and 20 years ago money. But it had to have been $1,000, $1,200, I don't know. And they were trying to get my parents to buy vitamins. Now, mind you, my family's never been a big vitamin people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's been times where I've taken vitamins, or maybe one of my parents has, or one of my siblings, but we're not big vitamin people. We just aren't. And so at the time, none of us were taking vitamins. So my mom is like, well, we don't, you know, I don't know exactly what she said, but basically like, oh, okay, like, you know, and my parents were probably just trying to be agreeable, but they, you know, they didn't really like, versus if it was somebody I knew and they were coming to my house, I'd be like, well, where did you read this? And what are you talking about? You know, but I'm also a little bit more aggressive. Like, I like am a snoop, so I'm like, what? Versus my parents are very, very sweet people, and they were probably just like, okay, well, here's dinner. Like, let's talk about something else. Like, and I remember telling Mimi, I said, well, why couldn't you just get a prescription from your doctor for it? And then she basically like blew me off because I was a child and didn't know what I was talking about, you know, just basically like, oh, you know, like, you won't be saying that when you can't buy vitamins. And which is legitimate. Like, honestly, you know, people take vitamins without a doctor's recommendation all the time, and I've done that before too. But really, it's like if you're, you know, should have like blood work done, and, you know, should be consulting a doctor before you put anything in your body. I'm not judging anybody that's done it because I've done it before too. But like my doctor, you could just go and say, hey, I need vitamin D, and she's like, you know, she's pretty agreeable. Do you know what I mean? So I guess I didn't see that it would be that big of a deal. But anyway, so it was just that they're gonna, you know, you can't buy them. So for whatever reason, they read this. They didn't do any research. They read an article or whatever on a blog or whatever, and they like went and spent like $1,000 on vitamins. Now you might be thinking, well, maybe these people are big vitamin people or big health nuts. They were not. I can't say specifics because it would sound unkind, but no, they were definitely not health nuts. To my knowledge, they didn't take vitamins. They were not like herbalists or even like crunchy granola hippie types, you know, that would take vitamins and are like, my body is a temple. But it wasn't like anything like that. It was just they read that. And there's also like a story I'm gonna have to share for another time, but the woman in particular, she was like a get rich quick schemes type lady. So when I was bouncing this idea off with my mom, I actually was saying like, was she planning on selling them or what? And my mom was like, I don't know. She's like, she never said. So fast forward like a couple of months, and we are at Mimi and what did I call him? Todd. Mimi and Todd or whatever. So we're at Mimi and Todd's house, and they literally have their like dining room table almost completely filled with vitamins. Okay, and they had a big dining room table. And you would think they would have vitamins that would pertain to them. They had child vitamins. They didn't have any children, and they were not in childbearing years, if you get what I'm saying. And they had like senior citizen, you know, like vitamins. They were not senior citizens. They were, you know what I mean? They were somewhere in that like, you know, beyond childbearing, but not like grandpa age, you know. I don't want to say middle aged because I think they were younger than middle aged, but anyway. But the point is they had vitamins they had like prenatal vitamins and child vitamins and like all this stuff, and it was just like bottle after bottle after bottle. And my mom did tell me that at some point Mimi did try to give my mom child vitamins, and they were all expired by like a lot. So, you know, and vitamins do have an expiration date. And you guys know, if you've been with me for a while, you know how I feel about expiration dates. But like for medicine, you know, so I'm saying that like it has to be about fear, but I think if I have to analyze them and the situation, I think it was very much like nobody's going to tell me I can't buy vitamins. So I'm going to show them and spend $1,000 on vitamins that we don't need or use, that nobody's going to need or use. And the best of my knowledge, they probably gave them away to people or threw them out. I don't know. I never asked questions. But that has to be like based off some kind of fear. Now that $1,000, I don't know their, lives like that. And I was 12 or 13 years old at the time. But you don't want to be Mimi and Todd. Do you know what I mean? Just because you read it online doesn't mean that it's true. And of course, we know that more now, but I see people all the time doing things and saying things, and it's not necessarily true. Now, I don't want to get into like all that, but you know what I mean. And like, if you hear something from me, you have no idea if I made that up or if I heard it from Joe Schmo and they heard it from whomever and whomever and whomever. And it's like telephone. And it's the same thing with things you read online. You really want to do your research. And I get it. Like, people get afraid and we make decisions based off fear. We've all done it. But you really want to be cautious with that, especially when it comes to your money. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be buying things out of fear. And I've talked about that before, like with the panic buying and stuff. Like, you just want to be careful about that. And I hope that story makes sense. And like I said, I am genuinely not making fun of them. That is a real story that it's like 20 plus years later, I'm still like, why would they buy vitamins in mass quantities that they didn't use or take? Like, I even vaguely remember them telling my dad like that they didn't take vitamins, but they were going to start because they bought all these vitamins. It would be one thing if they bought them and then they were planning to like give them out to the masses or like donate them or something. But to the best of my knowledge, they just like rotted in their house, like, and that's just money that's gone. And like, anyway, it still baffles me. The thought process, and I really wish that I could go back 20 years and question them, like, but what's your motive? What is the fear behind this? Is it just like you're sticking it to the man and you ain't gonna be told what to do? Or is it like something to do with like your rights, or is it like propaganda? Do you know what I mean? Some people are really susceptible to propaganda too. Do you know what I mean? Like, such and such is going to do this, and such is going to do this, and this is going to affect you this way. And it's things that never happen or are not even legal. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that stuff never happens, but let's just try to keep a level head. And when you are afraid, whether it be with finances or whatever it is, you really want to try to use some critical thinking and think about maybe your childhood or maybe a traumatic situation you were in. And I also want to point out that we make decisions about money using fear all the time. People stay at jobs that they absolutely hate because they need that paycheck. So that's fear. People don't invest because I don't know anything about investing, and they're afraid of losing their money. And it's like, well, even a top-notch investment, whomever, they weren't born with that knowledge. Do you know what I mean? You have to go to school or read a book or ask somebody, you know what I mean? And you want to be careful too, because there's a lot of sketchy people. But, or people didn't leave a romantic relationship because they were afraid how they were gonna pay for things, or what that would mean for them financially. And I'm not encouraging anyone to leave their job or their significant other or anything like that, but really think about, like, why am I making the financial decisions that I am? And that also goes with overspending. Do you know what I mean? If somebody grew up in poverty, and then they're just like, you know what, I got a job now, I'm just going to put it on the credit card, no one's going to tell me that I can't have something. Or if somebody grew up with abundance, then like sometimes money just like doesn't mean anything to them. Like it's always been there. They, you know, if they've never gone without, and then they end up in a bad financial situation, they're like, well, my parents were never in this situation. It's like, yes, because just because they had money and you guys had a lot, they were probably still putting money in investments and putting money in savings and, you know, being mindful with it, you know. So just try to keep some of that stuff in mind. Okay, guys? So I hope that you guys got something out of this video. And I thought that that would be an interesting story to share. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel. If you did not know, I have an Instagram, The Frugal Life with Mercedes. Until next time, guys, bye. There it goes.